was to help people get to the next big thing.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of today's Medical Sales Leader. I'm your host, Claire Davis, and today we have somebody who is one of my favorite people on the planet. It's Ancil Lea. How are you doing today, Ancil? It's so great to have you.
Well, thank you, Claire. And the feeling's mutual. And I'm doing well. And hey, thank you for having me on your show.
Oh my gosh, my pleasure. I was thinking about you the other day because first of all, if anybody here has not yet seen Ancil, he's everywhere on LinkedIn and otherwise, but be sure to follow him here today. And I was thinking about you the other day because my son, who is 6, he is in kindergarten and he's loving school. And while he does, he's got this great big fun run happening at school. And so the days leading up, while my older son is like, woohoo, yeah, and he's like running laps in the backyard, he's kind of, excited. My younger son is really nervous. And I said, well, what's going on, bud? Like, aren't you excited to run with all your buddies? And he goes, oh, I'm not sure. And I don't know if I'll win. And will we have fun? And what am I going to wear? And all these questions are like really getting him in a twist. And so I said, don't worry, we'll watch other people run. And then we'll just see what you want to do. You can just stand here with mommy. And so sure enough, we get to this race, Ancil, and I'm standing there and we're watching everybody. And it takes him all but 30 seconds to like catch the vibe and take off with his friends. And so the reason this reminded me of you was a lot of times we talk about, these different opportunities for medical salespeople who are laid off and they're looking for full-time employment, but sometimes unsure about taking that half step in the meantime, which brings me to your bridge program. So I figure sometimes it's just best to bring the expert on himself to really explain what's possible when you're stuck after a layoff or otherwise, and you're looking to get back in the industry. So without further ado, I would love for you to tell everyone here a little bit about what you're up to with the Bridge program, and then also with Blue Sail, if you wouldn't mind. But let's start with Bridge.
Absolutely. And the Bridge thing just, it was kind of an obvious thing for me. As I've been, working in medical software, medical sales since 1988. And, so I've sold a ton of stuff, software technology throughout the years. And, I was just watching, really watching and listening, especially on LinkedIn, to folks that were getting laid off, and it just really touched my heart. And it just really, and it moved me. And I thought, well, what can I do? How can I help? And so I created the Bridge program to basically help them bridge, hopefully to the next big thing. And what we do there is basically just go and I interview everybody, and I look over the resumes, and I'm not a resume guy. Okay, let me just be
That's okay. I know a guy.
You know a guy. And I'm not a resume person. But I'm just looking to see who they are, trying to figure out who they are and where they want to be. And so they would join our Bridge program. And I designed a curriculum that, would allow them to, hey, get your, one of the first things we do is you've got to be before you do. And what I mean by that is, hey, you really need to get your online media together, and you need to look the best on LinkedIn. For instance, you need to have everything. You need to have a great banner. You need to have great copy underneath it, and do you have a brand statement and all that kind of stuff. So what what I really, my goal for, the bridge program, was to help people get to the next big thing. And also what I wanted to do was I wanted to, and as I told our group, I said, there may be stuff here you've heard before, but what I hope it does is spark something in you that encourages you to go after this next big thing. And I find, a lot of people, being discouraged. And I, the matter of fact, the last day, I'll just kind of say that our last session, I told them, I said, when I interviewed you, I looked at your resume and now I've listened to you, and there's some disparity. There's some disparity in just believing in yourself. And it's my job, and I felt like, to encourage you and, give you some tools to give you the edge to find that next big thing. And so we took them through this, we created this curriculum, and it was just one of the biggest blessings I've ever had. It's just incredible. And now we've kind of taken it to a new level.
Mm-hmm. So they come to you, they're, they're between jobs, right? Generally, everyone in the bridge program is kind of between roles.
Yeah, they're either between, or they've been out of work for a while, or they want to change. They want to they want to go into medical sales. They want to go into, or they're in healthcare, but they realize, hey, I've got to to change my life. I feel like this relational sales approach is what I need to do to find me find an opportunity.
Oh, wow. That's great. And, okay. So they're getting their online presence streamlined, you're looking at their LinkedIn profile, and then there's an additional sales component, correct? Where they can start. Is this also connected with the contract work that you're known for?
No,
okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Sure.
Really the second part of that, and what I wanted to do was be able to lend my name, lend my, when you've got a gap somewhere, somebody's asking you a question, you're getting asked about that during an interview. So, hey, use me to fill this gap. And also, we have a portfolio of products. You can sell those and make money while you're and hopefully honing your skills while you're looking for that next big thing. So we actually have we educate them in such a way that they could go out and just, they're really more making connections than they are anything else. And but it's with medical software technology.
Oh, that's terrific. I remember thinking after, gosh, this would have been layoff number 2 of 5. So if anybody's not familiar, I've gone through 5 of these layoffs, but the second layoff, I remember thinking that there really needed to be a way that I could continue building and nurturing the relationships that I had made when I was in the field. Right. And what a wonderful way. I mean, I'm sure some of the relationships may be new based on the software and who needs it, but there's a bit of crossover as well to keep people fresh. Would you say?
Yes, that's one of the things I do and kind of really teach them is just to realize, even with your existing people, the opportunity that's all around you. There's opportunity everywhere. And I won't tell you this 5-minute story I've got, which is a LinkedIn, which is I hate to admit this, came from an Instagram reel. Oh. I confess that. But I'm all about there. Again, we can get so down on ourselves that we miss these opportunities. And and it's my job to help them see those opportunities. And they're just all around you. And it's incredible. So anyway, it's all about, getting your head up, looking around and putting on the glasses.
Oh my gosh, I love it. I think so much of what I appreciate about you is that you are this stalwart champion for other people in the way of helping them find what they're great at and reminding them that they are truly valuable, great
Mm,
people.
mm.
And I think a really great coach. I don't know if you've coached other than, these kinds of things, but I hope so. But you have this way about you, Ansel, where you really inspire confidence in people. And so much of our career and so much of those dips and roller coaster moments in our career, our confidence takes a huge hit. And so I think often it takes somebody like you who's willing to look and say, hey, wait, I know that right now you're in this place that is hard and emotionally, financially, physically hard, and you've got those blinders on. Let me help open up your worldview a little bit and encourage you. I think that's a really wonderful thing you're doing.
Well, that's very kind. I will tell you that I am a 20 plus year, 14-year high school soccer coach.
Oh,
Coach,
okay.
I coach high school, and we were very good, by the way, my
Uh-huh.
girls. And I coached club soccer for a long time, and but it kind of just spills over into who I am. And
Mhm.
um, listen, I know that I can. I'm not that talented, but here's what I know I can do. I can encourage you, and
Mm.
I can hopefully help you see those things in you that are special, that
Mhm.
you can. And I think we forget those when we get in, like you said, when we get in a hard place. I think we forget them. I think, and we need a friend, and
Yeah.
to come alongside of us. So yeah, I think that's my gig. That's what I love to do. I had a multimillionaire take me to this is in one of the books. Uh, Take me to breakfast one day. We were working on a project at a heart hospital, and they were working on we were working on an app. They had brought me in to consult on it, and he had gotten to know me. And his mid 70s. He's made a bunch of money, and he's kind of crusty, and he would. We sat down in a Panera in Little Rock, and he said, Ansel, you really like to help people. And I'm
Mm.
like, yeah. He said, you really need to help yourself. But he was trying to motivate me. And I'm like,
Mhm.
so I went back and had to think about that. And really he's right with a little twist
Mm.
that if I can help, if I can
Mm.
help you, I will help. It will bless me. So
Yeah.
that's what I know.
Oh, that feels so good. That gives me chills. And I think that doesn't come from nowhere. So where if you had to look back through your career, like, before you were helping 2,500 hospitals and clinics and
Right.
before even selling into healthcare, um, where does that sort of servant um approach come from? Was it modeled for you? Did you see somebody do this? Did you receive help yourself and say, I'm going to carry this on? Where's the seed of this?
Well, I will say that I've just had a lot of good people. I got trained at IBM early on,
Hmm.
and the people that trained me, had a lot of that. But even further back, I would, I'm going to try to hold this together and talk about this. I would say my mom.
Mm, yeah. My mom
Big.
was a big influence in my life as well. I think mothers have a tendency to really leave a forever mark. But tell us
Yeah,
about your mom.
yeah. No, she's just the hardest working person uh, I've ever met. And you've seen me. I've written about some of the some of the things she's done. But she just was very much, and still is very much a servant. And
Mm.
maybe that's where I get that. But she taught. I mean, at any rate, I just owe so much to my mom, to say the least.
That's awesome. Oh my gosh. Well, I'm so grateful for what you're doing for people. It's so obvious to me that you really have your finger on the pulse of what the different modern ways of approaching a career can look like, and also what are some things that people aren't typically doing, or some new things that they can try. Something else recently, and I'm sure people who have seen you here on LinkedIn have seen this, but you are constantly in my feed because you're doing lives, you're producing great content, you're introducing us to amazing guests with amazing stories on your LinkedIn videos as well. So tell us a little bit about, when you kind of took the tiger by the tail of video and live interview, and what that's done for you and your business, and also what it can do for someone's career. Because I think it's still a little bit of the untested waters for many job seekers, but it's certainly here to stay, in my opinion, and you're doing it really well. I think you're opening doors and options for a lot of people.
Well, I sat down with that. Thank you for saying all that. But I had sat down probably 4 or 5 years ago with a guy I consider a great, he's done a lot in video, throughout the years. And I know he actually works in ministry, video, radio ministry around the world. And so I just took him to coffee and I said, well, I'm thinking about, doing more video. What do you think I ought to do? Maybe, should people interview me? How should we do that? Or how should we go about doing this? Because sometimes it's, you feel like, hey, if I'm just getting on speaking to the camera, is that good enough? And he said, I think you should interview people and allow them to tell their story. And so that's really kind of what we've done over the last 5+ years. And with the advent of live, I think I still think it's underused. I think it really hits the algorithm, and especially in LinkedIn. When I first started doing lives, I'd written my first Common Grounds book, and my team goes, all right, Ancil, we want you to go sit in a coffee shop and turn on your phone, and we want you to broadcast live. And I had never done a live before, and it was just a Facebook Live. Yeah. And I was amazed when I did that people watched it, and it really mattered. I mean, this was back in 2017. And so that's when I first really kind of started doing that, and started doing it more, started really filming more out of my phone. And now we've kind of evolved into more where we're doing more lives, from a studio, and we're also doing more recorded kind of video to put out there. But as you talked about, we've done so much of this, especially the live stuff, that people go, how do you do that? And so we, with Ancil Lea, and I just want to say Ancil Lea is my producer. He's the one running the show on all these LinkedIn lives and on our video stuff, and he just does a great job. So we've actually started doing some of that for people, for individuals and companies, and which is pretty cool. We enjoy that, and he's good at it, and it just makes it easy, to come in here, sit down, and have my guests, have my questions, and just take off.
Well, I think something that is so important to consider for anybody who is thinking, hey, I see that video is a way that I can get visible with people I want to work for, or in a new industry, or if you're not in medical and you want to get in medical and you're trying to get out there. I think there is a real fine balance between what we put online and what will help our career, because video and visibility can absolutely get you in front of people who you want to see you for your career. However, there's an art to it. Just like there's an art to interviewing, just like there's an art to writing your resume, just like there's an art to working with your physicians, right? So right. I'm so grateful that you are offering this, because I have seen it go both ways. I've seen people just get out there on video and unleash on social media and say some things that have turned companies away from them when they applied. And I've also seen people snatched up after an incredible video where they shared a message about their leadership or maybe something they're most proud of. And they leveraged that to make a path for themselves to the career that they wanted or whatever the next step was. I've seen both. So I don't want to glaze over this point, because it's so worth,
Yep.
especially if you're here and you're watching this and you've heard of Ancil, but you're like, how the heck does he get so good on camera? And how do I do that? Well, I mean, you've put some serious time in, and it's so well worth hiring somebody like you and working with a coach to help you to formulate that story and to kind of not softball you, but walk you through, okay, what's going to help you and what could potentially not help. So do you have any, maybe some guideposts or some tips that you would share with someone who is new to being interviewed and certainly new to live content on LinkedIn? And maybe what are some of the things to focus on, or some of the things not to really, some things to avoid maybe?
Sure. I will say that, it's just to get better. And that's what I've always told my team and folks that I work with. But, to be good at something, you need to do something and do it poorly.
Mm-hmm.
And so, maybe you do it in a more controlled, where you're recording it,
Mm-hmm.
and then editing it and sending it out. That's what I used to do. I mean, I used to do a lot of that. And I can't tell you how many hours I've done of that, of just, sharing thoughts. And, but you know what I did? That's kind of what I did when I announced the bridge program. I think I can't remember if I did a live or if it was recorded. I think I did a lot. I can't remember, but I made a promise. I said, I'm going to launch this thing. And so, I had this conversation, and you just will not believe how many people watched. It's amazing that never engage, that never say anything, but you just will not believe how many people watch what you're doing. And so it has such an impact. And I will tell you, I just got to tell you this story. Last Friday, I was actually traveling. My wife is a high school counselor. We were taking the cheerleaders up to Kansas City. So we're stopping for lunch in Bentonville. And so we're at Torchy's Tacos in Bentonville.
Yeah.
And we're all there's like 30 people to get to check out, to get to do your order. So I'm not in any hurry. And plus I had shaved that day, and I picked up the wrong jacket, and it was cold and it was rainy, and it had dog hair all over it. And I'm like, I guess I'm going to wear this. So I'm standing there looking at this menu, and there are 30 people standing in front of me, and all of a sudden I see one guy kind of swimming like a fish swimming upstream, and all of a sudden, boom, he was right here. He said, "Hey, you're Ancil Lea." I was like, "Yes." and he said, "Hey man, you connected with me a few weeks ago on LinkedIn." And it turns out this guy's a higher up in a technology company. And he said, "I watch your lives." And, I'm just, and again, I just did not look the best in the world. And I was just, slightly embarrassed, but it just showed me the power of doing these live and doing video, doing lives. It's incredible. And, and besides that, the amount of business it's generated, for us has been incredible as well. So, it's great to be recognized, but even more so for me, that it's generating interest, it's generating conversation, and it's generating, revenue.
Wow, that's great. And I feel like when you start getting recognized at taco shops on a road trip, I feel like you've made it. I feel like that's when your celebrity status is kicked in.
Oh man, well,
boy,
I don't know. It was just really but I know I'm really impressed. All my wife's cheerleaders, they were like, "Who are?" They're like, "Who are you?"
They're like, "Whoa, cool." So can you? I mean, it's so clear that video here, for at least from my perspective, is here to stay. I think since we've experienced the last 5 years and a lot of people getting siloed and a lot of doors being shut, certainly in healthcare, video is a really effective way of getting in front of people, and it's a bit of infotainment, right? But it's definitely sometimes the faster way to make an impression, to build trust with somebody that way. Can you talk a little bit about, when you're talking about business growth after you started implementing more video and more live content, was there a ramp up time? Was it immediate? Was it, we hit our stride after 6 months and then we were like, oh, we're sticking with this thing? How has video really transformed your business?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it's been critical to, moving the needle for us,
Mm.
And I will just say, hey, when I want to find out how I should look, or how my background should look, I really want to say I watch Claire Davis. I'm just saying, you do such an awesome job, and
I'll get that $20 I owe you over to you fast.
Venmo,
That's right.
My kids know Venmo. So, I think that, one of the cool things has been, I got connected with Jeff Beecher. Okay. And through just all this, through Mike Russell, through whatever. And Jeff, he and I got to know each other, and I have him, he's helps me, host, sometimes we're doing this series right now with the fuel participants at this accelerator up in Bentonville, and he's helping me co-host, and it's so much fun. And when you can ping off somebody like Jeff, who's just got quick wit, and he understands. I mean, this guy's been involved in innovation technology, and so he understands. Anyway, so it's open doors. It's created friendships that I think will last a lifetime. So it's all about connecting, with others, and I think this is the way people can see you and hear you, and also hear your heart, and what you're about, and what are the things that you do, what's important to you.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think that, as far as that piece of business, I mean, you've been in the healthcare and technology world for a while. Do you think that things have radically changed in the way that we relate to others and serve each other in this industry? Or do you think it's more of the same? What is the evolution you've seen in these industries?
As far as having conversations and and creating it's hard. It's when I first started, it was so easy. I was thinking about this. You could walk in anywhere, anybody would talk to you, and now it's not that way. And I think it's more, it's really, who do you know, and who trusts you, and are you a trusted force out there? And I think this is where LinkedIn and being able to write content, and to have social proof, to back that up, you or whatever you're coaching, or whatever your product, customer testimonials. I think you almost, again, I kind of go back to somebody else, recently, approached me and said, I've been watching you for 6 months. I know you. Wow. They've been watching me for 6 months, and they know me. And so they know that I know your style, I know your heart, I know what, how you're coming at this. And I think it's new. It's kind of gets you in. I mean, it's a way of building relationships where now you can't get through the side door into a hospital. It's just, and even though you may have, you may be I helped a company, one of the innovation companies, which I'm not a medical device guy, but I did have relationships inside this hospital. And so I'll walk into a cath lab with a suit on, I'm,
Sure.
and they're like, all the doctors were like, oh, who is this? Oh, it's a suit. There's a suit in the cath lab,
Quick,
and
hide in the stairwell.
exactly. I was like, oh my gosh. But it was funny. But what I learned, in helping some of these companies is that the committee system is just incredibly, hard to get through. And that, and that's where I feel like Jeff has a lot of, he's had a lot of insight about, the committee system and, trying and getting your product through, whereas, working in health tech, we've really not ever had to deal with that much, but man, if you're a medical device, gosh, it's a labyrinth, of, to get through there. But matter of fact, I've actually put together a video course on the intro to healthcare and just talking about the lay of the land, really, if you will, what a hospital, what it looks like to try to get into a hospital, what it looks like to get into a surgery center or to a clinic, and all the players and all the, that you've got to have to understand to get in there. Now it's just complex. And but I do think what breaks you out of that is it definitely is your online presence, your brand, you talking to them daily, either through your writing or through video.
Well, I think that, and for everyone here listening, I'm sure they're experiencing this too. But from what I know of you and in the last couple of years since we've gotten to know each other over LinkedIn, is that you really do focus on creating these resources for people so that they can thrive. Like, so it's not a surprise to me that somebody said, hey, after 6 months, I knew you, because the Ancil Lea we know is the same in his book as he is on his lives, as I'm sure you are in person. And one thing that is so very clear is that you feel, and I've asked you this before, that serving others is a big deal. So to kind of bring this all together, can you break that apart for us really quick and just share, why is serving others first such a big deal? And maybe what are some ways that, people can kind of lean into that today?
Thank you. Thank you. And I will say that, I really hadn't planned my career that way. This principle, I guess I've just really discovered as I just tried to help others, and that when I serve other folks, that it's just, there's just a blessing that comes back to me manifold. And whether it's working on with the children's homes that I've done, I've talked about in Common Grounds too, but it could be just serving, it could be coaching soccer, and it doesn't have to be, it didn't have to be monumental, but helping others, and giving of yourself. There is something magical about when you do that you just get blessed. That's all I got to say. I will tell you, and I may have talked about this before. I was sitting on a board one time, and I sat on the children's home board, and we had gone way down 2-3 hours away to have a board meeting at a shelter, and I had my old family van, okay? And this is when I was like in the 90s, and it was full of French fries and everything else that you can think of, having 5 kids. And so I had the family, I don't know how in the world I wound up with the family van down there, but I did. And so one of the board members they owned a fleet of car dealerships. And all of a sudden it became stormy, and so she had been flown down there on a jet, and she said, "Oh, Ancil, can you drive me home?" I'm like, Sandy, my car looks terrible. I mean, she said, I don't care, just get me home. The jet can't land and I said, okay. So here I am. So I'm driving this lady who's super sweet. And we had a great conversation, about a 3-hour trip back. And so she says, right before she gets out of the family van that's full of ketchup and French fries, is that she said, the next time we go someplace, I'll pick you up on my jet.
Oh, cool.
I said, what? She said, yeah, I'll wherever we go, I'll fly you. I said, well, you don't have to do that. And so the next time we went someplace, she rings me up. She said, all right, hey, here's your chance. We'll come pick you up. I'm like, are you kidding me? And so I'm on a citation flying. We don't fly very far, but I mean, the experience of that was just incredible.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm telling you, just serving others and opens doors that you just cannot believe. Whether you go serve on a board of a women's shelter, whether you're serving on the board or you're helping collect clothes, and those kinds of things really, that ring my bell. I just, when people need help, and can you stand in the gap and help them? I'm not looking for the blessing, but you know what? I get showered with blessings. And I just can't, I can't tell you what, living a life, having a life like that, I think is a rich life. And, that's what I want. That's what I want for my kids. I want my kids to know there's other people in this world that need your help, and you need to step up and help them. And so at any rate, that's it. Just this give first, start small. All you have to do is something small. You don't have to do something big. Just take one little step. And people will be so glad to see you show up someplace.
Yeah. Okay, so I can already feel that we're going to be demanded to do a second episode with you, Ancil.
I feel I've got talked way too much.
Not at all. But I mean, I'm inspired. I'm sure everybody listening and watching here too is as well. So listen, from your bridge program where you help people in a tight spot between roles or when they're looking to break into medical sales, to your blue sale where you're doing done for you video work and interviews for people who are maybe just thinking about getting interviews and live content out online. You're doing a lot to help people in this industry. So if somebody wants to get in touch with you and find out more or potentially work with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Find me right here on LinkedIn, is to direct message me. That's the best way to find me.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. Continue, please.
Oh, no. I'm just saying connect with me.
Awesome. I love it. Thank you so much for your time today, Ancil. It was so great to dive into everything you're doing. I know, like I said, I'm not exaggerating. You're one of my favorite people here, and it's not a mystery or hard to see that everything you do with heart. And I really respect that. And you're like a magnet for good. So thank you for all you're doing. And I'm so grateful to be in your circle. Thanks for spending the time with me today.
Claire, thank you for doing this. Thank you for inviting me here. And thank you for being an inspiration to me and for guiding me and guiding us. So thank you. You're a friend.
Oh my gosh. Anytime. We got to stick together. This industry is wild.
Isn't that the truth?
Yeah. Well, for everyone listening, please take this opportunity, go connect with Ancil, send him a DM and see what opportunities are really out there for your career by engaging someone like Ancil to give you a fresh perspective and new opportunities in ways that you may not have even considered are available to you until today. So do not hesitate. And until next week, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.